Hey people in YouTube land, Zach Hall here. Wanted to bring you guys another Bible review and glad to just be back. Sorry that I've been gone for a little bit, but I wanted to bring a review today of the Cambridge KJV Clarion Reference Bible. This is a great reader Bible, but it's also great for carry, great for carrying to wherever you need to go, work, church, Bible study. And I would even say if you have the eyes for it and you get used to the layout, it can be a great preaching Bible as well. So I want to get in this review and show you guys a little bit about this Bible. And we'll do a few comparisons as well to the Cambridge Cameo here, produced by a local church. And then also I want to compare it to Thomas Nelson's large print paragraph double column KJV. Just to kind of give us an idea of the font size and the size of this Bible in general. The Clarion really does hit a lot of good marks all around. It is a hand-sized Bible, so it's not that big. It's not hard to carry. It's about 7.5 inches tall by 5.5 inches wide by about 1.5 inches thick. So it is a thick, small Bible. This one is the brown Mariva calfskin. It also comes in a black calf split and also in a black goat skin. I chose the calf skin, Mariva calfskin, because it's softer, it's more pliable, even than the goat skin. Even though the goat skin has a synthetic liner, the calf split and calf skin have a paste down vinyl liner, but this lays flatter than the goat skin, and also the text tends to bend up out of the gutter to make it more readable than the goat skin one. Both are great additions, but I personally love the feel of the calf skin, and I love the fact that it's a little bit more firm in the hand and lays flatter on a desk or a pulpit, so that's why I chose that one. The goat skin one probably will last longer for you, but without a doubt, if you kept good care of this Bible, it would probably last you a good couple decades if you take good care of this. If you don't, I mean, probably I could see it lasting 5 years or a little bit less if you're very, very rough on your Bibles. But if you take good care of it, the normal wear and tear and use, of course, you want to use your Bible. I don't see why this couldn't give you a good solid 10, 15, 20 years out of it. But getting into this, you have Holy Bible on the front, on the spine. You have Holy Bible, King James Version, and then the Cambridge crest. Comes with 2 brown ribbon markers to match the cover. As you guys saw there too, it does have art gilding. So it's got that classic salmon color from Cambridge with the gold gilding on the side, which is very nicely done. It's got brown and gold head and tail bands. It has a little bit of a yap. I would say about 1/4 inch on all the sides. Comes with that black paste off vinyl liner, and again, this is calfskin. It is a Mariva calfskin, very soft, very flexible, very nice piece of leather. You get some cardstock. There is some bookbinders tape that is reinforcing the spine, so it does have a reinforced spine. It's technically edge lined, but it's done so with the bookbinders tape and the vinyl paste off liner. And then you have a nice basic presentation page here from Cambridge. I like these. I'm glad that they're blank. You can kind of fill this out however you want to. Then you have 2 title pages. You have the first, that's just a blank Holy Bible title page. And then you have the other title page with Cambridge University and the standard translated out of the original tongues. Then we get the copyright page here. And of course, as with all Cambridge Bibles now, they are printed and bound in by Youngblood in the Netherlands. And the paper is supplied by this company here in France. Now this does have a 8 3/4 point font, and it says /10.5. So with the leading, they're saying it reads like a 10.5 font. So I do have the Thomas Nelson KJV large print paragraph Bible to compare it to show you that this font actually is pretty big for the hand size. It's the same size as the Cameo. It's a little bit thicker than the Cameo, but it has a very, very readable font for the size of the Bible. I would say it's even slightly more readable than the Cameo, and the Cameo is very easy to read. So getting into this now, you're going to have a contents page. If you want to pause that, you can kind of see everything's in here. So you're going to get an index of the Bible, books of the Bible, what page they start on. Then you have the epistle dedicatory to King James, which has a wide margin around it, which is very nice. And then you get the translators to the reader as well, the full document. And it's in a nice paragraph format as well. But you'll start to see here how big this font is. Now the font here in the letters are actually a little bit smaller than the Bible font itself. But this is very clean, well done. I'm glad that it has both of these in this edition. Then you're going to get the Old Testament title page, and we're going to get right into Genesis. And so you can see why I like the calfskin. This thing lays flat in Genesis chapter 1. Doesn't fight you, doesn't try to go back up and close on itself. So it is a very, very well done binding. That calfskin really has structure, but yet it also lays the flattest. So it's a very, very well made Bible. Okay, so you see here the title page, first book of Moses called Genesis. You can see it as a side column reference with a bold figure reference. And what that means is that you can just come over here and look up the verse, and then you can find the reference. So these references are still tagged in with numbers for alternate translations or Hebrew and Greek terms. And then also it has, it's traditional ABC, so on, for the referencing system. But you have the advantage of now looking it up with a specific verse here on the reference on the side. So they bold these so that you can just find the verse quickly. And now theoretically, in this reference Bible, you should be able to generally just go across the page and find it. So that's 9. So there's chapter 1, verse 9 there. Here's chapter 1, verse 11. So if we go across here, oh, it was right there. Yep, so it's pretty close. So they try to keep it generally close. So let's try this again with 14. Go across, there's 14 for you. So it's kind of a, for a paragraph setting, I think they did a great job using the bold figure reference and laying it out where the references are as close as possible to the verse it refers to. And I'll show you here where he has multiple references. So, for example, 1:1. So you do have A, B, and this is the second verse, and you have A and B. So you do have still the traditional referencing system, but you have the advantage of the bold figure cross-reference, which kind of helps find things more quickly. But you can see now we have a single column paragraph edition, so it's more like a novel. You do still retain the verse numbers though, and they are actually, I was surprised at how big they are. If I was teaching out of this, or I've taken this to Bible study, or if I was preaching out of this, I can find the verses pretty quick. I mean, they do actually stand out pretty good. So I was a little concerned about that actually when I got it. I was afraid the verse numbers were going to be a lot smaller, something like maybe like the Pit Minion. But actually the verse numbers in this are a lot bigger. So I was very thankful for that. So again, you're really seeing this 8 3/4 point font shine off the page here. It's very readable. Zoom in here and let you guys get a good look. And okay, at the top we have the book and the chapter numbers that you are on, and then in the inside gutter you have the page number that this is on. You don't have any paragraph headings in the King James. Now in the other translations, they have their standard whatever, like the New King James was actually published with paragraph headings, so you'll have those. The ESV has them, but the King James does not, and I like that, honestly. I think for a reader's edition this is a great Bible to take those out. So what I want to do real quick, I want to sum up this, and I want to make those comparisons for you real quick. So this is a black letter text all throughout. We're just going to flip through this. In the narrative sections, it is like a book format. In the poetic sections and in songs and in letters, they're going to break it out accordingly in the correct format. Now it is line matched for the most part. You can see here the Psalms are beautifully laid out. Each Psalm title is actually centered above the Psalm. So it's very beautifully done. But I want to show you guys a difference here. So let's see here. This was flipping through. So this is the narrative section, right? This is the Gospels. So you'll get this through the epistles, history books, all that stuff. But when you get to the poetry section, then you get this nice, stanzas and lines and everything. But I do find that in Proverbs, especially in the poetry section, it does not line up 100%. So we'll get to Proverbs 18 here. So you can see here, these lines are like just off by probably an eighth of an inch. to 1/4 of an inch. Like, it's just, they need to be brought down to line up. So you can see here it's a little bit busier on this page because of that. So, and then here's a great example. You can see the difference. So this page is line matched. Okay, you can see the lines line up on both sides. And here you can see they're just ever so slightly off. And then back here at chapter 18, it actually readjusts. But it's like that for a couple chapters here in Proverbs. So again, you can see that's off. 19's off. So it's rare that it happens, but I wanted you guys to be aware of that if you get the King James, because for whatever reason that the Cambridge one, or the King James version of the Clarion, for some reason has that. I think in the other editions it was fixed and they laid it out a little bit better. But those are the only spots I've noticed in reading through this Bible that it's not line matched. For example, when you get to this narrative section and you have narrative, it's always line matched. I have not seen it off one time. So when you get to that, it is indeed line matched. So nothing to worry about there. I just wanted you guys to be aware of that. The books, for the most part, start on a new page, but not all the time. So let's get to the Proverbs here. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Ecclesiastes starts on the same page that Proverbs ends. So if there's too much space, a new book will start on the same page. If there's a little bit of space at the bottom of the page, then they will go ahead and start the book on a new page. So here's Ecclesiastes. You see Proverbs ends halfway down the page, then Ecclesiastes begins. So it's like that through the epistles, through the whole Bible. So some books start on new pages and some just start on the same page ended. So see here, it's not a half a page, so they decided to go ahead and put the next book on a new page. So it's an interesting layout, but I like it. It's very, very well done. So you can see again, because it's brown calfskin laying flat, the text is brought out of the gutter, so you really can read this. It doesn't bend too much one way or the other into a gutter space, so the readability is really enhanced with the brown calfskin. So even though it's a paste-off liner, I would encourage you guys to give it a shot if you're really wanting to have the best feel for this Bible. It just lays a lot flatter, and the text comes out more. And so I've seen the goatskin, I've handled the goatskin one, and of course I love the fact that it lasts longer, but it doesn't feel to me as good, and the point of this Bible is to read it. And I'll show you guys here, you can hold this in one hand, and this thing is, look, it's floppy if you want it to be floppy, but as soon as I put my hand there, the structure comes in. So I can easily hold this with one hand, move it around. It's not flopping all over the place, and yet it's still eminently readable on both sides. So it's a great text, it really is. So here's a New Testament. Again, this is a black letter text. It is not self-pronouncing, so there are no self-pronunciation marks. Again, with the goal of this being readability, taking those out is very wise. So again, I want to get to the end of this, though, because I really want to get to the comparisons for you guys. Book ends here, Revelation 22, and then they have a Reader's Companion right after that. Generally, I would really like to see a blank page in between here just to divide this. Also, it gives you a nice page for notes as well. But it's just, to me, it's a better layout. I mean, I get if you're trying to save space here, it's already a thicker book. They wouldn't have just put this here. The Reader's Companion is very cool. If you guys haven't seen one yet from Cambridge, this is a great idea. If you want to pause this, you can read their kind of the reasoning behind it, but essentially what it is it's a dictionary and concordance together. So for example, we have Aaron, gives you a little synopsis of this. So Moses, his elder brother, associated with him in the liberation of the Israelites from Egypt, a descendant of Levi. He was the founder of a hereditary priesthood. And it gives you references to that. And then here you have Abaddon, a Hebrew word meaning place of destruction, the angel of the bottomless pit. And then the reference. So it works as a dictionary and concordance together. So it is pretty cool. It's long. It's actually got a lot of entries, but it's not as long as like the concordance to the Cambridge Concord or the Cambridge Cameo. Those concordances are a lot longer than the Reader's Companion. However, the Reader's Companion gives you a lot of cool information. And the Concord also has the Bible Dictionary, which has a lot more information as well. So there's the end of the Reader's Companion. And you can see they specifically designed this for the authorized version, the King James Version. Then you have Cambridge Bible maps. Okay, these are the standard ones. If you've seen this, it has the index at the beginning. You have about 15 maps, I think, in total. And the color's very well done. They're printed on a non-glossy it's slightly thicker than Bible paper. So it's actually my favorite paper that maps are printed on. It's not completely cardstock, so these pages aren't as heavy. So these won't tear out first from the Bible, which is really nice. If you have really heavy cardstock maps, those are always the first thing that get torn out of your Bible because the weight of those maps really starts to bend under the pressure of the book, and they start to pull out because they're the heaviest. So if you can get paper that's close to the Bible paper, then you have a better shot of those not tearing out. So there's a look at that, and then of course it ends there with the final paste-off liner. So what I want to do real quick is compare this to the Cameo and then to the Thomas Nelson large print. Now this Cameo is actually in a brown cowhide, and it's hard to even tell it's brown because of how brown the Clarion is, but I'll bring in this black, there you go, from Thomas Nelson, and you can see it's a dark brown for the Cameo and a lighter brown for the Clarion. But what I show you really here is the size comparison. These guys are pretty much the same size. Okay, Clarion's definitely thicker, about a 1/4 inch thicker than the Cameo. Okay, but we'll open up the font here. So the Cameo is kind of like Cambridge's standard handheld Bible, essentially. It's a beautiful 8-point bold petite medieval Clarion font, very easy to read. It has been the gold standard for years as far as a Bible for this size, yet that doesn't sacrifice readability. So there's a lot of bigger size Bibles, I should say, that don't have a font as readable as the Cameo. And yet with the Clarion, they went ahead and they did it again. I mean, they made an intimately readable Bible in the same size as the Cameo. So here's the fonts compared together. The font of the Clarion is bigger, but because of the boldness of the Cameo, it reads about the same. If not, I would say the Cameo has the appearance of being slightly bigger, just ever so slightly. But you can tell the Clarion font is their newer digital font that they like to use now. Which actually the scripts of the letters are actually the same. Which I don't know if I can get that. But like all the little flags and things on the Cameo font are actually the same in the Clarion, which is kind of cool. I was actually just checking that out today, but there's a lot cleaner font. Spacing in both of them is actually really good. But the Cameo is double column. So if you like a double column handheld Bible, I would check out the Cambridge Cameo. And if you wanted a nice goatskin, obviously Cambridge has that. This is the local church edition and a nice cowhide leather for $40. And so I picked it up because I really like local church, and this thing has been awesome. So if you want a Cameo and you don't care about the bells and whistles, but you want a Bible that's going to last you a long time, this would be the one to go with. This is the double column reference, 8-point font, bold. And again, this is 8 3/4 or 8.75. And they say it has a leading of a 10.5-point font. So the reason why I have this guy, which is the Thomas Nelson double column paragraph edition, is to show you the size comparison. So this is a thin line, but the footprint is a lot larger than the Clarion, and yet they are supposed to have the same font. So let's check this out. So the Thomas Nelson's font is a true 10.5, and with the leading, I would say it reads slightly bigger than that, but here you go. So you have an actual 10.5-point font on the left with the Thomas Nelson edition. You have an 8 3/4 font on the right in the Clarion. And you can see, I mean, they do read close. I think it's obvious, though, that the Thomas Nelson font is bigger. Like, you can't really make a case that the Clarion's bigger. But the fact that the Clarion is so much smaller in its height and width. And the fact that it's this readable, I mean, they're not that far off. So Cambridge really hit it out of the park with this edition. Now, if you are interested in this one, this is a great Bible too. I really love the fact that this is a double column paragraph edition. When you get into poetry, though, it goes to verse by verse instead of being in a paragraph setting. So it's set in stanzas for poetry, and then it breaks out letters and stuff as well. But when it does that, or Old Testament references as well, or in the New Testament, are broken out separately in a stanza by itself. But it goes verse by verse when it gets to a poetic setting. Whereas when you get to a narrative section, it goes back to paragraph in double column. So it's not verse by verse here. And of course, this has red letter. It also has paragraph headings. You have a Bible reading plan in the back with a concordance and maps in this edition. So, and then this has a book introduction as well. And I love the margin here in the gutter on the Thomas Nelson is a lot bigger. So it brings out that text even more. So you never have problems with this Bible where the text is going into the gutter. So this is really readable. One of my favorite Bibles that Thomas Nelson has ever put out is this edition. But I wanted to give you guys this good view of the Clarion. I've used it now for quite a while, about a month or two. Pretty regularly reading, devotionally, Bible study. When I'm reading theology books, I use this a lot of times as my reference Bible, my go-to, because it's so easy to hold and pick up, and it's not heavy or cumbersome. So I can sit on the couch and read the theology book and then have this right by me to reference a scripture if someone quotes a scripture or something. So it is a good reference edition as well. But yeah, I have taught out of this. I have done Bible studies out of this, and I can find the verse numbers pretty easily, and I have good eyesight. I have about 20/20 eyesight. But again, I think Cambridge makes it easy with this font. It's very readable. So guys, that is my full review of the Cambridge Clarion in brown Mariva calfskin. If you guys have any questions or comments, as always, please leave those. I love interacting with you guys down there. If there's something I didn't cover or that you'd like to know about the Bible, please let me know. I would definitely be able to answer those questions for you. But other than that, I hope you guys have a great night. Take care, and God bless.